Good afternoon. Sweden, do you see our presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then I'll just announce the first slide. Hello to professors and all audience. Our presentation will be consisted from 3 parts, and the first part will present Hassan in Sweden.
Thank you, Dominik. We'll present our link analysis tool, and first we'll tell you the contents of our presentation. We'll discuss about the deliverables, milestones, activities, activity chart, work hours, use cases, overall features, communication, and overall experiences. And then Dominik will discuss about the requirements and design, and then he'll present a demo. So this is a table of all the deliverables which we submitted during the project work, and fortunately all the deliverables have been delivered on time. None of them were late, because we took the deadlines for these deliverables very seriously, and we strictly followed the deadlines. So luckily we never got late. And there were basically 3 milestones in our project: alpha prototype, beta prototype, and release candidate. And all the deadlines for these milestones were met, and we were on time in delivering those milestones. Next slide. This is a table of the activities during the development of the project. We have a requirement analysis phase, then the design phase, and meanwhile, when the design phase in progress, we also worked on prototyping. And after that, we started implementation, and after the implementation, there was testing and bug fixing, and documentation was done all the way from the very beginning till the very end. It can be easily understood by this Gantt chart that in the beginning it was requirement analysis, and also the documentation started. Then after the requirement analysis, design and prototyping started at the same time. And we made some quick prototypes and redesigned, and then made some quick prototypes and then redesigned, and so on. And after the design is finalized, we moved to implementation, and then testing and bug fixing. And you can see a small gap between in testing and bug fixing and documentation. It's basically the Christmas breaks we had, so we didn't work on those days. Next slide. Okay, here is a graph of our worked hours, and initially we worked around 80 to 90 hours a week, and as you can see, these dots. First dot was the first deliverable deadline, requirements and design document. We have to deliver this, and before this deadline we worked hard. But for the alpha prototype, you can see a huge peak in the graph. We worked more than 160 hours in that week, and then for the beta prototype there is another peak, and for release candidate there is another peak, and then there is a sudden downfall in the graph. It's basically the Christmas breaks I mentioned earlier, and then we started to work in normal pace. Next slide. These are some use cases we promised to deliver. There are 5 use cases: setting parameters, visualize transactions, transaction selection from metrics, graph zoom in, zoom out, and getting subscriber details. Sorry. And we managed to deliver all these use cases, and none was left behind. Overall features of our product were which we planned on developing and delivered successfully were connection graph, activity metrics, search depth selection, search by subscriber number, subscriber name, IMEI number, subscriber details, and authentication. These were the features we planned on developing, and we delivered them successfully. But there were two features we failed to develop as planned earlier. Those were transaction details and zoomed out graph. Due to lack of time, we couldn't deliver those features. Next slide, please. Okay, now let's talk about communication. There were a lot of different kind of meetings in our project. Some were fixed, some were casual, and you can say on-demand meetings. Like if we had some urgent work and we called in an urgent meeting. So the fixed meetings were defined in the general policies document. The time and the place and the style and technology used for those meetings was in the general policies document. There were leader meetings which were fixed, and they were on every Monday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. and they are basically audio conferences on Skype. And then the local meeting between the local teams in Sweden and Croatia, and they were face-to-face meeting in a coffee shop or in a lab or some university place. Then there were global meetings after every 2 weeks. There were audio-video conferences on Skype, and they were between two places usually. And meetings on demand were usually the audio conferences once it was chatting, but mostly it was audio conference on Skype. And then the other modes of communications we used were Google Groups. Like we exchanged more than 380 emails on Google Group, and SMS and emails, etc. And so the overall experience during this project was great, but as it was our first time on a distributed environment, so things didn't go as planned initially. Initially, we distributed the work, but later on we realized that work distribution is uneven. We thought that, okay, everybody will have to work equally, but then we realized, no, some parts are easy to develop and they require less effort. So we improvised and we improved and redistributed the tasks accordingly. Then there were some communication issues as this was a distributed environment. So initially we didn't know how to communicate with each other in a distributed environment. Again, some cultural differences and then other workload of other subjects. And there were some technical issues which were never anticipated in the early phases. That was lack of free space on server. We had a huge data. One day records generate around 15 gigabytes of data, and we cannot have that much amount of free space on the server to store the data of 1 month or so. So we faced these problems in later stages, and then inserting records into DB, because inserting 15 GB of data into database table is very difficult. It takes too much time. So we made some changes. We adopted according to the environment, and we changed the technology a bit. Like initially we decided to use the Tomcat server, but then we moved to Glassfish. Initially we decided to develop the front end in PHP, and later on we worked in JSP and JSF. And for database communication, we decided to develop the database connections in Java Hibernate. But later on, we used JDBC. And then we changed our communication style according to the needs of distributed environment. We changed the presentation policy because there is a strict timeline for the presentation, and again, small changes in the work distribution. And things will improve next time, mainly the integration, because we had a real hard time in integration. And so the positive things we learned from this project were we learned a lot of new things, improved communication skills, we are now a better team players, and yeah, we are very good friends. We from Sweden and from Croatia. Unlike most of the teams, we never had a fight, and yeah, literally. And yeah, we have shared our cultures, and we have a good knowledge of their culture as well now. And yeah, there are no negative experiences so far. Next slide, please.
Okay, welcome to Croatian back. So I'll tell you more about our goal, the goal of our project. So today, losses in telecommunication industries are estimated to more than $30 billion a year. So telecommunication companies use many techniques to combat fraud. So one of the techniques that are used in fraud management system is so-called link analysis, and it helps agents, fraud agents to visualize transactional behaviors of subscriber using collected data in database. So this gives fraud agents the opportunity to detect a known member of fraudster organization, trace some SIM cards which is used in fraudulent activity, and so on. So the main functionality we can describe as visual transactions in defined period of time and in defined search depth for a given subscriber, which can be described as with its name, SIM card number, or email. And also, we need to enable easy integration by making a web module for FMS. So our requirements, fundamental requirements, are mostly defined from the main functionality, which I mentioned before, and let's say particular interest requirements. I can emphasize coloring node levels. So every level is in its own color. And other requirements and its most details are left to team's creativity. In this use case diagram, you can see the user, which can, at the beginning, set parameters, and after we check generate, you'll see on demonstration, transactions are visualized, and after that metrics will show the transactions and other things, like number of transactions. Also, visual transactions can be, graph can be zoomed in and zoomed out, pen, and also so details. About architecture, I can say that our project is divided to client and the server part. The server part is running on Glassfish, and we decided to use only the Java programming language. Server is containing three levels. The top level is application level, which connects with client and delivers data. Also, we use techniques like GSF, which is making web client pages, and using servlets for delivering AJAX calls data. The middle layer, which could be a business layer, we choose servlets for where it's running all algorithms, and also all data conversions are there. And the bottom layer is database layer, which use JDBC for gathering data from database. And client part is using HTML and CSS for displaying data, and JavaScript for making graph. Now we'll see demonstration live.